So I and my colleague Rudy will share with you some Slovene experiences on the aspects of the quality issues when using administrative data. I will start and then Rudy will take over in the middle of the presentation. So I will start my presentation since, as you heard, I was working for many years, like bringing administrative sources to the statistical office that in the optimal world of a statistician, uniform guidelines and tools to assess quality of any type of a register database before entering the statistical system to produce official statistics would exist. But in the Slovenian case, especially because we started to use administrative sources already in the late 70s, this was not the case, and it's still not the case. However, that I would say that our experiences show that such a tool could be only for a guidance, actually, but cannot help you to assess this all kinds of sources because you always have to deal with a specific use and with a specific source. And there are namely huge differences among administrative sources and even huge differences in its potential uses. So when at our office we are deciding whether we will be using a particular administrative source and how we will evaluate it, it also depends to a great extent how this administrative source was actually established. And to what extent the statistical needs and concepts were already taken into account at the time of its establishment. So it depends whether the administrative source was established by the NSI. This was the case in the past, but later given to the relevant ministry agency for its maintenance, like it was the Central Population Register, Business Register. So for these administrative sources, the statistical aspect was already taken into account to the largest possible extent. So which is, you know, we have like statistical source, but it's actually administrative source. Then whether this administrative source was established hand in hand with the NSI, like recently established the Register of Accommodation Establishments, where actually Statistical Office was one of the partners when establishing the administrative source, but actually it's maintained and established by a different agency. Then the third case is whether the NSI was involved in the process of the preparation of the legal base for its establishment. And in the fourth case, actually NSI is not included in its establishment and creation. But I would say that in Slovenia, this is only in rare cases, since the Act on Statistics foresee that whenever a register or a database is established in the country, the national statistical system has to be consulted. So what we have learned is that it is essential to have regular contacts and close cooperation with administrative sources when they are created, when to exchange novelties, to foresee improvements in administrative sources, and to foresee also the statistical needs. And this is done on a regular basis. As in the Norwegian case, we have, depends on the administrative source, but we have these contacts, could be via email, or we have monthly or quarterly meetings and so on. So that it's like a close cooperation, we exchange information on the sources. Then when we are deciding whether a particular administrative source will be used in statistical production depends also on other important aspects, such as coverage. Whether the administrative source has the full coverage of observation units, like the Central Population Register, Business Register, Register of Accommodation Establishments, Organic Farming Register, and so on and so on. Then whether the register has the coverage with the threshold, which could be the case of the, I don't know, vineyards, orchards, where you have a threshold when some registration needs to occur. And whether there is a register which are created, and to register in that register, there it's relevant a specific incentive for the registration. So all these aspects are very, very important when we are deciding whether a source will be used. It also depends on the compatibility of variables, to what extent the administrative variables are compatible with the statistical variables. It depends if those administrative variables could be adjusted to fit the statistical concepts, and whether there is a potential to combine this administrative source with other administrative and or statistical sources in order to supplement the missing information, to improve the quality, or to achieve the necessary quality of the statistics. It also depends on the forcing usages. Will it be used for defining the trends in short-term statistics, like we are using the data from on automated traffic counters, or do you need very detailed data for structural statistics? And for the quality of administrative sources, it's in the most cases very important that administrative sources are interlinked. This improves the quality, and that it has various uses, as the Norwegian colleague said, like the more the uses, the more interlinkages, the better quality. At least this is our experience. And how we do it? I would say that we don't use a rocket science, actually. What we do comparisons of administrative data with existing statistical surveys, could be longitudinal, or if possible also in parallel. If we have an existing survey and we have the possibility to run, to use both data in parallel for a certain period. We compare this particular administrative data with other relevant statistical surveys, or we just compare this data with other administrative sources as well. Sometimes you know that some variables occur in different sources, and we cross-check this data. We also do analysis of the changes of the administrative sources over time. We build logical controls on the data from administrative sources, like could be like for the waste statistics, tourism statistics. And we also do analysis at the micro data level. This means that whenever we detect or it's communicated to us some specific information, we actually check case by case what is in the register. We sometimes even perform specific surveys, as it was the case of a special survey with a focus on plausible unregistered immigration conducted in 2016. That was after the 2015 census. And sometimes we even reach for external consultancy, like in the case when we needed to engage an expert on taxation regulations to understand all the databases created based on different taxation regulations. And sometimes we even perform some simulations. Now, when the administrative sources are already used, so we are always using them for production of official statistics, you need to check the quality of administrative sources. This is an ongoing way all the time, since they're changing, and since the administrative sources, they're like a living thing. I could present you many cases how we do it more concretely. I will just, here are just 3 examples listed, maybe how we do it for the Central Population Register, what kind of quality checks we are performing, since we're using this data already since 70s. So we periodically estimate its quality for specific groups of population, could be the students, could be the persons in homes for elderly. We systematically check the so-called administrative survivors, could be the centenarians, especially there was a special analysis after the last combined census that we had in 2002, but we continue with this practice. We occasionally perform special surveys, as I mentioned, and we do these microdata checks. Then with the register of accommodation establishments and collected waste, we actually built, like we built in statistical survey, actually logical controls before data are entering the statistical system. And what we do, we are not allowed actually to, on individual level, as in Norway, communicate those cases to the authority in charge for its maintenance. But we, on a general level, like summarizing the observed irregularities or mistakes, we communicate this with the authorities, and we see in all those cases that the data are improving. And now I will give the word to Rudy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I may ask Rudy just very quickly in the benefit of time.
Thank you. I see that we are already out of time, but I will just quickly go through the slides. So I just wanted to share with you some experiences from the general point of view. I will just go through this. I just wanted to say that we have established this general framework for accessing quality of the data in our office now for 15 years. When we were thinking about creating this general framework for the case of administrative data, we considered two cases. One is quality assessment of servers that use administrative data, and the other is the quality assessment of register and large administrative data sets that are used by many servers. Next slide, please. And when the first case is concerned, when we are assessing the quality of service with administrative data, we just in fact adjusted. I think it was in 2010 when really some need for this emerged for adjusting the quality reports for the case of administrative data. So we adjusted in this case that we added few indicators that are really designed just for the administrative data, and we added some reference metadata that are describing the cases of administrative data. You have some examples of these special quality indicators here, just 3 of them, but I think it was just 5 or 6 of them added at that time. Okay, next slide, please. When the second case is concerned, an assessment of registered large data sets, we in fact just started in 2011 a pilot project when we tried to establish a separate quality framework assessment framework just for these cases like business register or population register. We try to assess it independently for particular server, but how good is to be used with different servers. Unfortunately, we didn't put it already in the practice. It was left on the, let's say, on the experimental level. We did a pilot project with when we created a quality report for business register, but unfortunately, due to some circumstances, it not really came into the practice. But we did develop some concepts and approaches, and we have some, I think, one paper that it is also in English, and it describes our ideas how to approach these cases. Okay, next slide. I just wanted to say that who wants to know more about this, we have 2 papers that are really concerns these cases that I was talking about, and we put also some references that we found very useful on the European level. This SNET quality guidelines is quite good, and also these UNICE guidelines. Okay. I know that we are out of time, so this very quickly, but if you have any questions further on, you can put it to me. Thank you.